just kind of take this with you. Marketing without data is like driving with your eyes closed. And this is so important, right? So if you guys are doing all this stuff, you have your website, you have your social accounts, you're doing all these different things. If we're not looking at the data, we're really just posting and praying and hoping and praying, and we're hoping that something's going to work, right? So we really, again, need to look at what's happening, look at the analytics, see what people are doing. And it starts with this one. And I actually was talking to the gentleman at the break, and we were talking about this a little bit. And you know, the first question is, what are we trying to accomplish? And it sounds really simple, right? It sounds really elementary, but don't say make more money, right? We all want to make more money. There's no secret, right? We all want to sell more. We all want to do more. We all want to have more customers. But specifically as it relates to your marketing, whether that be print, and by the way, because we're a digital company, we're not anti-traditional. We are not anti-traditional. So there's still a place for, in some cases, print. There's still a place in some cases for a billboard if it makes sense. We get that. So we're not anti-traditional. What we're saying is, whatever we're doing marketing-wise, what are we really trying to accomplish? And more specifically, you notice how there's multiple numbers here? It's not just one thing. So don't just say we're trying to increase the amount of customers by 10% year over year. Okay, that's a really good start because that shows us that our goal is we want to acquire new business. I get that. But then as a sub-goal, how are we going to do that? What are we going to do? We're going to drive people to X page on our website, or we're going to create new content for our website, or we're going to do drone video photography, or whatever the case may be. What are those goals that are going to help us get to where we want to be? So it starts with goal clarity, obviously, number one. And then, again, on Google Analytics, some things we already touched on, but just to highlight a little bit more, year-over-year traffic trends and patterns. So Google allows you to do this very simply. You can look at any time period, compare it to the prior year. What's happening? I recognize in a lot of your businesses there's a huge seasonal component. I get that. So what are we doing from that perspective? Where are the upswings? Where are the downswings? Obviously, we talked about page-specific traffic. We talked about bounce rate. Time on page. This is another big one. So for every page of your site, how much time are people spending on the page? We have to determine, meaning you have to determine, through ongoing analysis, what is a good number there, right? So in other words, for our feature pages or for pages about what it is that we're offering at our locations, right? Does it really make a ton of sense if people are on there for 2 minutes, or should they be on there for longer? Do we have a video on the page that's 45 seconds and that's accounting for a lot of that time, and then people are leaving? Or are they checking out other copy on the page, right? So we have to try to assess what is it that we want people to do on these pages. How long do we want them to spend? Based on the copy, based on the goals, right? What we want them to do, right? On-page trends, another big thing we want to look at is, are we asking people to take specific action on our website? So in other words, what could that be? Fill out a form, call us, click here to book, whatever it is, right? That can all be measured through analytics, what people are actually doing. Number 5, traffic source location. In general, over the last 3 months, where have our traffic hits come from? Where are people located that are looking at our website? Is it all within 10 miles of our location? Do we have a high concentration in Chicago?
Why do we care?
Why do we care?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Why does it matter where it comes from?
So we care because it could, and very likely should, impact our strategy and our messaging, right? So in other words, I'll give a specific example. We work with a large boat builder in Racine. Racine, they call it. I call it Racine. They call it Racine. All right. So we work with a boat builder down there. Before we started looking at Google Analytics, they had no clue that a ton of their traffic was coming from, guess where? Ann Arbor, Michigan. And they were like, what? We're a builder of boats in Racine, Wisconsin. And all of a sudden we put analytics on the site, and after looking at it for a few months, it was something like 300 hits were coming from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Come to find out, there's a few people that relocated to Ann Arbor, Michigan that were familiar with them, right? And they're big in this industry and they're influencers and they've been checking out the site and recommending it to others. Our company, our client had no clue this was happening. So it's like, wait a second. We're targeting, Madison, Chicago, all this great stuff, but we don't know what's happening in Michigan. So the point is we have to understand, because now what are we doing? Now we're running specific ads to reinforce new products on a geofence in that location. So now we're hitting people who we know are interested with specific content that they would have never otherwise received from us. So that's one example. But the simple example or the simple concept is by knowing where they're coming from, we can effectively message them, right? We can hit them with certain messaging based on what matters to them. As an example, if we have people checking us out from Chicago, I would argue we might want to give them a different message than if they're from Green Bay, right? It's a different audience. We might need to use different wording. We might need to use different imagery, right? So again, notice what we're saying here. This is all about specialization. This isn't just come check us out because we're great and we offer all these things. It's here's what matters to you, right? By traffic source medium. That's a real fancy way of saying how do they find us? Through Google search, Facebook, Instagram, some other source. Google Analytics to the best of their ability, which is pretty darn good because they obviously see a lot, see everything. They will tell us what that is. That gives us tremendous insight into, again, where we should be marketing, where we should be communicating, right? Here's another practical application. So number 6, let's look at medium. Let's say that for the month of March so far, our number 5 traffic source is Facebook. So the 5th highest place we're getting traffic to our site is Facebook. And what we can tell is that 75% of that traffic is bouncing. What do we do next?
Determine where it's bouncing.
Fix the page.
Exactly. So we dig a little deeper. We look at what pages are they going to from Facebook, right? And then we circle back to the ad or the promotion on Facebook to look at message and targeting. So again, it's using the data to help inform us. Wait a second, we see in analytics it's a 75% bounce rate. That seems high. Let's look at this a little more deeply, right?
Is that possibly that the bounce rate is that high because you're messaging wrong, that they're
Absolutely.
doing something else?
Could be
You
wrong.
wouldn't have them as a customer anyway.
Could be wrong messaging, but we're going to I'll take it a step further. You're right. There obviously is always going to be people that just may not want to do business with us. But in general, if I see a 75% bounce rate on an audience that I'm specifically targeting, I'm targeting that audience because I think they're interested in what we offer. So if 3 out of 4 aren't, I'm going to assume that there might be opportunity to tweak that message a little bit. But you're right. There always are going to be people that just, they see it and they don't want to do business. Traffic source device type. So how are they finding it? Are they on Google phone? Are they on an iPhone? Are they on a tablet? Where are they? Google Analytics will tell us this. Again, gives us insight as to how people are checking out our website. All right, here's a simple screenshot. We just got a couple more on analytics and we'll move on. But just a real simple screenshot. It'll show you overall traffic patterns. You can change the date range, look at number of users, pages, average time, bounce rate, all that good stuff. So it's all available for you.
What I was trying to say is that you may be getting hits that really have nothing to do with your business because of the message that is being put out.
Right?
In other words, the message is not accurate enough for what you're after. They wouldn't do business anyway. It's just that the analytics will that show you that you're grabbing people to hit, but they don't really want to be hitting on what you have. They're not.
Yeah, so the analytics will not tell you to the person, why they didn't necessarily, make a connection with you. But they will give you very important trends. So, but they're not going to tell you specifically, like so-and-so. However, there is a way to do that, which I'll get to in a second, because there are targeting strategies that can be that micro where you can actually get to that level of detail. We'll talk about it in 1 second. That was a tease. All right. Social media reporting. Simple screenshot, guys. This is Facebook Insights. And again, the reason I have this up here is just simply to show you that all of these platforms have an analytics component. So if we're not using it, we should start. Every single platform. So that's one of my pet peeves is when people say, well, we do stuff on social, but we can't track it. Well, that's because you're not looking at the analytics, because every platform has it, right? So it's out there, similar information to Google, percentage men, women, where they are, where they're located, what they've done, what do we know about their household? What do we know, by the way, about their purchase history? That'd be great information to know. It's all through Facebook ads, all through Facebook Insights. All right. All right, here we go. Commitment. We all like commitment. Commit at least to one monthly reporting meeting. To me, it should include the owner or the owners. It should include, obviously, whoever's working on the marketing piece. And honestly, it should probably include some of the other key stakeholders in the business, whether it be the sales, some members of the sales team, some members of whether it's the customer relationship folks, or however you're structured, right? So don't just leave this to just the owner and whoever's doing marketing. There has to be communication across the board, because remember what we said earlier, online and offline intersect. So if we're doing a ton of marketing and the sales team doesn't know what's happening, that's a recipe for disaster, right? So we have to connect, we have to be on the same page. All right. So now, let's dive into SEO and SEM. I love this quote as well. So social may be sexy, but search still pays the bills. So we can pay the bills through social, and we talked about that. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. There are ways to do targeted promotions, get people to sign up for stuff, and all that good stuff. So social can pay the bills, but search really does pay most of the bills. So here we're just simply saying, right, people need to find you, and we were talking about that at the break. So how do people find you? How do you become relevant? So let's start out with some definition. Let's start out with SEO. And by the way, guys, my team will do 2-day SEO seminars. We have 3 hours today. So the point is, we're not going to make you all SEO experts. That's not the goal. But the point is, we're going to arm you with information. That's totally cool. I like it. I like the engagement. We're going to arm you.
I've got the business phone.
Oh, absolutely. I get it. So we're going to arm you with stuff that'll help you, get you more exposure, get you more experience. So SEO, let's start here. SEO stands for search engine optimization. Search engine optimization. Technically, refers to the technical elements of search marketing, okay? So what is done to your website to make the business more relevant in organic search? So this is a mouthful, but let's break it down. What we're saying here is SEO, search engine optimization, primarily relates to organic search. So organic search, doesn't matter if it's Google, Bing, wherever, Yahoo. Organic search is people going to those search engines and typing in terms like best campground, northern Wisconsin. That's our organic search. And then where do you show up, right? So SEO is a way that you work with the back end of your website to make sure that it's set up properly to tell Google what it needs to know. So remember we talked earlier, Google crawls your website. Remember the car example, where we said if your site's too old, you might hit some dead links, right? Things might be broken. That's one component of SEO. Other components are, like was mentioned, title tags, meta descriptions. These are technical terms. Do we know what these are? Simple examples. So when you go to Google and you search something, you know that little snippet that shows up in the search results where it says the website name, then it gives a little description of the page, and then it has the description below it? That's what this is. All of that is set up through the back end of your website. So you tell Google what should be there. If you don't tell Google what should be there, they will pull what they think should be there. That's not where we want to play. We don't want Google doing things on our behalf. We want to tell them through title tags, through meta descriptions, through other tools within the site backend, through the code, what should be there. The second way we impact organic search and SEO is through the on-page copy. Every page of the site needs to be optimized as it relates to copy. What we don't want to do is do what's called keyword stuffing or spamming. We've all read pages like this, right? Where it says, we're the best campground in northern Wisconsin because only, people would consider us as the best campground in northern, you know what I mean? Where we're repeating the same keywords and we're just stuffing keywords in. In fact, what will Google tell us is the most keywords we should optimize a page for? So we think about a page on our website. right? Think about the About Us, think about the Services page, think about all the pages. We have a page. What is Google best practice? How many keywords should we optimize every page for, ideally? 1. 1. What do you think most businesses do?
Much more.
20. All right, or more, right? We're just going to just throw every term out there that matters to campgrounds in Wisconsin and, you know, grade and sunshine and all this great stuff. So Google operates a very simple system. And the better we can streamline the system and understand the system, the better we're going to be. So it starts with everything we talked about so far. But as it relates to on-page copy, think of it this way. Google crawls your website, they hit your site, and what's a service that you guys would offer that you would focus? Let's pick an example. What's a service you would offer at your campground or an experience? Cabins. So you have a cabins page ideally. So we have cabins. It's a specific service offering that we have. We're not going to just slam cabins into some other page that talks about everything else we do, right? We're going to have cabins be its own page. By having it be its own page, we are immediately telling Google that we want to be relevant for that term. Immediately. Because when they crawl the website, they say, wait a second. We see all their URLs. They have a URL. What's the business name again?
Mine?
Yeah.
Jellystone.
Jellystone Park. They have a URL that's www.jellystonepark/best cabins in northern Wisconsin, or whatever, however we optimize the URL. Because we can control that URL. We can control that address, right? So we're telling Google immediately, this page is about cabins. Then on the page, we're going to talk about what? Cabins. And how often are we going to talk about it? Meaning, if we have, and Google will tell us typically 2 to 3 paragraphs, 4 to 6 sentences each. So we're talking maybe 15 to 20 sentences a copy on a page. So we don't have to have an encyclopedia. We just have to have a couple of well-written paragraphs, right? Within, say, a 2 or 3 paragraph amount of content, how many times should we be using that keyword, cabins? Google will tell us between 3 and 4. So think about it logically. We have it in the URL. It's its own page. We've already told Google that. Now we're using that same word that's in the URL on the page. Now if we want to take it to a deeper level, one of the times that we use that word on the page, we're going to make it a hyperlink. So we're going to turn that word into an actual link that somebody can click on. And where is it going to go?
Pictures of your cabins.
Pictures of our cabins. Another blog post about our cabin somewhere on our website, right? Or the registration page, right? Could go there, right? What does that hyperlink tell Google? This is a really important word. So when Google scans that page, they say, wait a second. It's in the URL. It's in the copy. It's being used a few times. It's not being overused. They're not trying to spam us. They're not trying to keyword stuff us. And they've also made it a link to some other page on their site. So this must be a really, really hyper relevant word that they want to rank for. That's how we optimize a page for organic search.
Do people still use hyperlinks?
Absolutely. We were just
I
talking.
go to a website and I see a hyperlink and I like kind of get grossed out.
Oh no, I get you. But Google.
Maybe that's that Gen Z
Exactly.
millennial thing going on. Cause same with blogs. I look at blogs and I think gross.
Yep. So I hear what you're saying.
Well, it's just a
I'm
time.
going to convey what what we just heard from that. So this is still really important to their algorithm. So that's why we're interested in it.
But what if you use something non-specific, like
Especially when there's a lot.
specify user-friendly,
Yeah.
and then get them to go to reviews?
Yeah.
Does that work?
I'm sorry, when you click on,
Instead of something concrete like bricks and mortar, you say user-friendly,
yeah,
and then you're trying to get them to link to the reviews.
Yep.
Buy into your,
Okay, so let's talk about a couple things. So let's go back to Google's search algorithm. And we talked about they have 245 different factors. We talked about the importance of mobile. We talked about the importance of page speed. What is arguably, although they'll never admit this, but they've basically admitted it through third parties, what is the #1 factor in Google's algorithm? The #1 factor.
What was the question?
The #1 factor in Google's search algorithm.
Looking for keywords? Is that-
And to know this, we have to go back to the foundation of Google. So everybody knows Google was started in a garage in California. It got some seed money from a guy named Jeff Bezos, who's done pretty well for himself. He actually he fronted Google $100,000 to get him going. $100,000, think about that. And when they had their first search engine out of this garage in California, they said the number one thing that matters as it relates to relevance for results is something called a backlink.
A what?
A backlink. Back and then link. Backlink. So this goes back to the point about linking. What is a backlink? A backlink is another website linking to your website. So in other words, what Google would say is, and they still say this, by the way, if we have two websites that talk about substantially the same thing, right? But if one website has 30 backlinks and this other one has 2, the one that has 30 is more valuable.
Is that backlinks to other businesses?
That's other people linking to you.
So if I run a blog of my own and I'm like, I'm a campground.
Oh, like your Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
linking.
That would be other people linking to your content.
Right, and so I blog or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
So what Google will say is if you've got 30 websites linking to your stuff, you're much more relevant for that search that we're looking at than someone who has 1 or 2. That was their original algorithm. Their original algorithm had one thing. It was backlinks. And then they were like, wait a second, that's really important, right, from a relevancy perspective. But there's all these other things that kind of matter too, like how fast the site is and all this other good stuff, right? But that was their number one thing. That hasn't changed, guys. So when we talk about blogging and when we talk about links, the reason that this is still important is because Google, they have a whole team that all they do, literally a team of over 50 people, that all they do out of their New York headquarters is work on links. That's all they do, is look at links. However, I would imagine that job, right? You just sitting there all day looking at traffic patterns and links, right? So my point is, these are all tactics, right, that can be used to help prop up your organic SEO. So then we talk about blogging. Every time you blog, you create a new URL on your website because every blog post is its own URL. So you have, it's Jellystone, right? So you have Jellystone, whatever it is, Jellystone, we'll just say .com. You then have jellystone.com/blog. So we've alerted Google we have a blog. Then every time you post, it becomes jellystone.com/blog/ whatever it is you're writing about.
Why hasn't blogs been taken over by something else? I feel like blogs is just so old school. I mean,
Yeah, well, people now they're vlogging, so we're doing video blogs, we're doing all these things. But what it goes back to is, and this is where it gets, well, whatever you want to say, but it goes back to content. It goes back to original content. And there's got to be a way for, because now if we fast forward, there may become a point in time where 5 to 10 years from now, and what I'm about to say, you might think I'm crazy, where websites are irrelevant. So you may say, well, how can I say that? Well, I can say that because what's been happening on all the search engines over the last 1 to 2 years? More effort has been focused on getting people to do what? Stay on the search engine, not go to the site. Have we noticed that over the last couple of years? Google, it used to be they gave the name of your business on the right-hand side and a map. Now they give you links to reviews. Now they give you links to third-party sources that'll talk about the business. They give you links to photos. They give you links to all this stuff. So the search engines are already making inroads into potentially making it irrelevant in the future to have to check out everybody's website. That's not to say that'll ever happen, but there's a concentrated effort of keeping people on the search engine by providing them with more information. And there's no secret why Facebook wants to get more in the search game, because that's the game, right? But until that game becomes more prevalent, to your point, which may happen, may not, we need to play the old game because Google's still playing the old game. And
Is Instagram another type of blog? How does that fit into the search?
Instagram is a powerful social signal. Correct, but
Content.
here's how here's a simple way of how it could fit in. So let's go back to our example of the website. This is our website, right here. So we have our Facebook, we have our Instagram account, right? And like most websites do, right? You have your link to your Instagram account, that little link, right? You click on it, you go, you can see your Instagram feed, right? That's how it helps search. Because when Google crawls your site, they see that social link and they follow it.
So that's a backlink.
That's a link, but it's not a backlink, because think of it this way. Instagram, in that example, would link to every website. So it's not going to be looked at as this extremely valuable link. What's an extremely valuable link is a highly ranked site like a Chamber of Commerce that links to you about an article that you've written or something like that.
In this group of people, a backlink would be the Arctic website or Waco having a link to one of your campgrounds, or you're featured, or for me, I'm a vendor, Arctic or Waco might link my site because we're featured.
Yeah.
That's a backlink
Yeah,
that you're talking about.
and here's the thing, guys. Exactly. That is exactly right. And here's the thing. None of this stuff is a secret. There is a I don't even know how much they're worth. They're probably worth almost $1 billion. There's a company out of Seattle called SEO Moz. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them. SEO Moz, SEO-M-O-Z. We go to their conference a couple times a year in Seattle. They are the authorities on all things search. They're the authorities. And they offer a lot of free tools. You can go to their website, SEO Moz. They have some paid tools, but they have some free tools. One of their tools is a backlink checker for your website. So you can literally put in your website, and they will, SEO MOZ, and they will literally tell you how many links you have and where they're coming from. MOZ, SEO MOZ, yep, and they will tell you how many links you have and where they're coming from. That is one of the first steps that anyone should do if you're seriously looking at updating your SEO strategy. Because you have to understand your link structure. Because if you don't, you will not know what needs to be done as it relates to links, because links are still so that important. All right, so does that help?
Can I ask something about the blog?
Yeah,
So, and I'm sure this is probably true for most of us.
Yeah.
During season, we have very little time to blog anything. We're lucky if we can use it.
yep,
But so what I've done is with my web, people that are creating my new website, we're gonna have a blog post, but instead of actually writing anything, because our campground has theme pages, so I'll have, Slime Fest or.
right,
So for our blog, once a week, we're gonna post what that activity is, because it's already done, I've already done all the work for it,
right,
with photos, what,
right,
pictures, where, and we're gonna use that as our blog post.
yep.
Instead of me, and that should work, right?
It's better, put it this way, it's good that you're doing it. To have an optimized post, what Google will tell us, it should be anywhere from 3 to 5 paragraphs
Right,
in
which would
length,
be-
which you'll have. The images need to be compressed and the right file size, so you'll do that. Yep, so you got all that done. Yeah, so it sounds like you're on the right track.
And I can do it ahead of time, so I can have the whole summer of blogs already done, and it's gonna get posted automatically
Correct.
each week.
And the other reason, yes, that's perfect. And the other reason blogging is so important is because blogging tends to be the content that other sites pick up the most. If you think about it logically, most other third-party sites aren't necessarily going to link people to your products page, but they will link to a post that you write that's educational about something that is relevant to them.
From a younger standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
do people from a younger generation, care to read a 3 to 4 paragraph blog over, I mean, I already know the answer
Right.
in my head,
Right.
to Facebook or an Instagram, because ADHD, everything's moving, people fast.
Right.
No time to read.
Yep. Oh, I
And
agree
with
that I
mean,
agree.
you keep saying it's so valuable to have blogs, and
Right.
I guess I will
That's
maybe,
for
I
us
do
old
vlogs.
people.
Right.
I
Right.
do video blogs, so maybe getting into vlogs would be something,
But
but
that
if,
is a
But-
blog,
but-
if it's
but-
a video blog, it's still the same thing.
But here's
it's-
the
but it's
thing.
visual,
But
it's new,
here's the
it's
thing.
out.
Don't
Well, Facebook, you know
don't
that.
listen to what I'm saying. I simply do what the industry best practices say. We were literally at Google 3 weeks ago, and they specifically told us that if you're not blogging on your website, you're missing out on most of what we do. That was the
So
quote from
written and video.
that was the quote from one of their directors of search.
This is from Google though, not like what other people prefer over.
Right. So what we're
They're the
saying
ones
is,
putting
but
up
what
the-
we're saying is the reason that we're sharing this is Google still owns 2/3 of search. So this is where, and I agree with you, my man. I agree with you. I'd rather watch it. I'd rather watch a video. I'd rather do all these things. But what we're saying is Google still owns 2/3 of the search market. Two out of every 3 searches on the internet is done on Google. So basically, when Google says jump, we ask how high. That's why we spend thousands of dollars to travel to Google and spend thousands of dollars to stay in a hotel at Google or by Google in New York. We're not doing that because we necessarily want to. We're doing that because they control the market. And so when people are looking for information that is relevant to you guys, more than likely they're going to go to Google. So that's why we pay attention to what they do. And Bing and Yahoo are still reflecting Google best practices. So if you research Bing and Yahoo, they're still doing these things as well. So that's not to say it won't change, but for right now, we need to pay attention to it. So very, very good questions, very good dialogue.
Are we gonna get to, under the search engine optimization, well, maybe I'm off key here. Remember you were gonna mention something about if we do have some kind of negative reviews, not just to how to get them off.
Uh-huh.
And we did say about saying thank you.
Right.
I'm not even sure what the question was, because earlier you had said you would maybe get back to that on, dealing with some of
The negative
I mean, we
repercussion.
have an ugly situation, I guess I'd make myself, but I don't know if you're later.
Because we're gonna talk about that.
Last hour, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that with social. We're going to get to, but this has really been good, guys. I appreciate all the questions. I promise we'll get through. We'll get through that, and we'll come back to it if we need to. So this is another important point. Search engine marketing. So we have search engine optimization, which is the technical things that are done to the back end of the website. The other thing we need to pay attention to, and this is probably really relevant to your business, is search engine marketing, which is how do we drive people to your site beyond organic search, right? Some of the ways we do that, pay-per-click advertising through Google or Bing, display advertising, those are those little creative ads that we talked about earlier in the corner of different websites like ESPN and others, the retargeting we talked about, pre-roll. Pre-roll is the idea of getting snippets of video to play in front of a video. So you go to YouTube to search for something related to campgrounds in Wisconsin, and all of a sudden one of your videos shows for 15 seconds before the person gets to look at the other one, right? Geofencing. So the idea, like we talked about earlier, drawing literally a circle around a location and saying we want to only show this to that location, right? That's another thing. And then obviously we just talked about backlinks and the importance of backlinks. I want to spend a little bit of time on the first one though, because literally, guys, we could talk about all these for all day if we wanted to. I want to talk a little bit about pay-per-click. There's a lot of pay-to-play. So when you go to Google and you see the ads on top, right? Instead of you see the ads, like typically it's 2 or 3 ads, and then below that are the organic results, right? So you have the ads, and then you have the organic. It used to be 5 or 6 years ago, what did people do? They skipped over the paid, and they went to the organic.
I still do that.
I do too.
But
I know they paid.
what is it? What is the user trend now? Most folks. I know everybody might skip over.
They're lazy, so they click the first.
They click the first thing they see. So the trend now is people are clicking on ads more than skipping over to go to organic because it's the first thing they see, and more people are accessing on mobile. So rather than scrolling, they click the first thing they see. And people are saying, well, it's not my money. If somebody was going to spend the money to be first, why don't I click on it and see what it's about, right? What do I have to lose? The greatest example of this is, and you can do this for most Fortune 500 companies, but if you do a Google search on Dell computer, just do this in your spare time.
In Dell, on a
Dell computer, just the term Dell computer. You can do it for any large company, but Dell's a good one. Dell owns the entire organic search landscape on that term. So in other words, if you go to Google and type in Dell computer, all the organic results will be from Dell. Who owns the paid results on that same term? Dell. So what I'm saying is, even though they own all of the organic results, they're running paid ads that they're getting charged for on their own name. Why? Because what we just said. They don't want to take the chance that somebody's going to skim over them and go to something else or click on it, right? So they want to have that spot. And the other reason is they know that if they don't run it on their name, who is?
somebody else.
HP. Or somebody else is going to run ads on their name to show up first, right? So why am I talking about this here? This is a really important thing to understand as it relates to website traffic and keywords. Let's say that we all collaborated here, we all pooled our money, and we built the best hotel in Milwaukee. And it was the best hotel by far. Better than the Pfister, better than the Iron Horse, better than all these hotels. And we built this hotel, and it's been up and running now for a few months. And let's say we wanted to own the first organic position for best hotel downtown Milwaukee. What do you think the chances are that we could have that number one organic result right now?
I feel that.
No, you wouldn't, it's gonna take a long time for you to build up that.
Google will tell us it might take us a year, might take us a year and a half. So they're saying, Google tells us that if you don't have a highly trafficked, relevant website for a term, if you want to rank for it organically, it might take you 12 to 18 months to optimize your site to rank for it. So why am I saying this? For every business, doesn't matter if you're an auto dealer, campground, doctor, lawyer, whatever you are, part of SEM is understanding your keywords. So remember we talked about Google. Remember we talked about Google Analytics. There is, in that same login, that same Google login, there is a login for what's called Google AdWords. Type in Google AdWords. Just because you log into Google AdWords does not mean you have to run ads. You don't have to run ads. But within Google AdWords, you will be given access to tools. And one of the tools that Google offers is what's called a keyword planner. That is where the gold is. So if you forget everything I said today, and you remember Keyword Planner through Google, I've done my job, because that will give you the insights that you need related to the terms that are relevant to you. So in other words, through the Keyword Planner, through Google AdWords, you can type in terms that you think are relevant to your business. You can type in your business name, you can type in your business location, you can type in any term that you think matters to what you do, and you will get an analysis of how many people are searching for that term, how competitive that term is, and where you rank for that term.
And if you're hiring someone to do your website and they don't ask you for your sign-ins for all of that information.
You got to walk the other way as quickly as possible. And the other thing is, if you're working with somebody for a website, on your website or on any of this strategy, and they dismiss pay-per-click, if they say you shouldn't do it because it's a waste of money, you need to run as fast as possible, as quickly as possible.
I see a Bing there.
Yep.
I don't, I'm just always a Google.
Yep.
Do you recommend Bing and the other
Yeah,
places?
here's the thing. So Google controls about 2/3, Bing controls about 20%. So here's what I would do. I would do the same thing that's an advanced strategy. I like how you brought it up, because for most businesses, starting with Google makes a ton of sense. And doing Google makes a ton of sense. But if you've already got your Google situation locked down in good shape, then you can do the exact same thing I said for Google. You can do that through Bing ads. So everything I just said for Google is available through Bing ads. Bing has the same thing. They have a keyword. They have, yeah. Right. So here's the thing. So typically Bing, and it's important not to dismiss it. I'm glad you brought it up. Bing typically is for 50 plus. 50-year-old plus is the typical demographic on Bing. And there's all sorts of studies as to why and how and all that stuff. But typically it's 50 plus. So, but it's 20% of search. So we don't want to throw all of our eggs there first. I would always start with Google, but it's something we don't want to necessarily avoid either, right? So we should pay attention to Bing, but the concept is still the same. And if somebody, like we just said, if somebody's talking to you about your website and they're talking to you about search marketing, and they're not talking about things like backlinks, and they're not talking about things like keyword research, and they're not talking about things like potentially using ads, you need to go and run the other way as quickly as possible, and here's why. Because once you do your keyword research, what you will understand is you will have buckets of keywords. And you will have keywords that Google tells you, based on how well your site is doing, you're going to be able to rank for very quickly, right? That's low-hanging fruit. We should be optimizing for those terms. There are other terms that they're going to say, you know what? You can work on them. So you can't rank organically right now, but if you work on it, you can get there in a year or so if you work on it. Then we have our other bucket, which is the no chance in hell bucket. That's the bucket that's most important. It's the most important bucket, because that's the bucket that tells us these are the terms that, given the health and the viability of our website, we will never rank for organically. And if those terms are really relevant to us, we have to do this. Because if we don't pay for placement, we will never show up for those terms. So that is why it always pains me when people say, well, I want to be number one for best whatever it is in my industry. You may have no chance of being that, no matter what you do.
Can I give you one that seems obscure?
Yeah,
Wintering Texans.
wintering Texas.
A lot of Floridians that go,
Yeah.
you know, from Wisconsin that go down and come back.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of, and I don't know that y'all think about that, but that
Yeah.
is 2 words, sorry.
wintering Texas, yeah,
Wintering Texas, people want to go back and forth in the country.
absolutely,
They're like,
absolutely. I love it.
I'll check
But-
it out, guys.
but-
I
but-
don't know what, it probably isn't the no chance in hell bucket, but it's important to us.
But it's important. But see, but we have to understand that in order to have any kind of strategy related to what we're doing. Because for us to just sit here and say, well, you know, we're a campground located in Green Bay or whatever it is, and you know, we want to be ranked number 1 in Green Bay. When somebody types in, you know, Wisconsin campgrounds in Green Bay, where are we? Are we currently ranked 40th for that term? Like if we go into Google AdWords, are they going to tell us we're ranked 40th, which is on the bottom of page 4? And we know nobody goes past page 1. Most people don't even go to the bottom of page 1, but we're on page 4, and we're sitting here. Oh, we should be ranked for it because we're a campground in Green Bay, and we're here. You know, it doesn't make sense. We have to know how the rules work, and we have to understand the data, right?
Have you ever heard the best place to hide a dead body is under the second page?
I like it. I like it. I like it. So here's a screenshot, guys, just so that we have an idea. So again, just exactly what I told you. Within Google Ads, you're right there. It's Keyword Planner. And there's a bunch of other tools. There's a bunch of other tools you can use. These are all free. You don't have to run ads. You can look at these, get some research, understand what's going on, and then you can make an informed decision as to if you want to run some ads. And probably you should for a couple of terms that, you know, really matter, you know, for what you do. And by the way, if you choose to run ads, you get analytics, there's that word again, on every ad that you run. And by the way, my other favorite pet peeve is when people say that the Google ads don't work. Guys, let's use our heads. What is the number 1 source of revenue for Google?
Ads.
So are they highly incented to make sure that those ads work?
Yep.
Yes. So if you run Google ads and you call Google, which you can do, and you can call their ads department, you will get a lot of help, and they'll be very willing to help you, and they're not going to try to oversell you because they want you to use their product. All right. So map ratings and search, just at a high level, we want to talk about this. So this is a basic search I did from Brookfield. This is the other thing we need to also understand. Your search results are going to vary based on the location that you're searching from. So if I search for best campgrounds or best Wisconsin campgrounds from here, I'm going to get different results than when I do it from Brookfield. This is what shows up in Brookfield, right? Why? Well, what is Google allowing me to do? They're allowing me to filter by only a 4-star plus rating. Number 1. So they're filtering out everybody that's below that. So do reviews matter? Yes. So again, trying to bring this all together so that we all understand everything we talked about earlier, right?
So as a user, you've already said that you don't want to see anything that's less than a 4-star rating.
Exactly. So again, this is exactly everything we talked about earlier, where we talked about reviews being so important, responding, all these things, and keep search engines keeping people on the page longer, right? So here we are, 4-star rating plus. So I'm only seeing that. Now Google is telling me what I want to see. They're telling me what they think I want to see based on their algorithm. Do I really want to see Green Lake Campground if I'm in Brookfield? I don't know. Google thinks I do. Why do they think I do?
Because they know more than you.
Because they know more than me, and they're telling me that based on these ratings and numbers of reviews and comments and my search history, think about this. What do I do for my spare time? I play golf. Where do I like to play golf? Lasonia. Where is Lasonia?
By Green Lake.
Green Lake. Do you think that's a coincidence? That's not a coincidence. So they're crunching all of that data, and they're showing me things that are relevant to my search history. The only way we break through this clutter is if we can potentially run ads that get us some placement, right? So again, trying to bring this all through, some real life examples. Here we go again. So this is so this was a more specific search I did. This is from Brookfield. Campgrounds near me. And I would encourage everybody to do this for your business. When you go back to your business from your location, do campgrounds near me or whatever it is your business is, and see what shows up and see where you show up for campgrounds near me, right? Because in Brookfield, what they showed me were a couple ones that are relatively close. Menominee Park, which is kind of right in the same neighborhood. They showed me a few results here. I didn't filter on rating, so they showed me a lower rated one. But the first thing that came up was, you know, the ad for, what is that, KOA, right? Campgrounds. So they know they're going to get a ton of clicks there. So what am I suggesting? If I'm a campground and I'm in well, I don't know how many there are around us exactly, but around this area, what if I bid on the term campgrounds near me? I don't know. It might cost me 50 cents, 75 cents a click. Run that for maybe a few days. See if I get any clicks when people are searching for that. Why? Because I know the only other person or entity that's bidding on it are these guys. I did.
It would be better to take the word ad out, just so people
Yeah.
they don't think that it's an ad, it's
Right.
organic.
Right. Well,
You know, you're still paying for it, but-
right. Exactly. Just yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. So does this make sense? So if you do searches around your location and you're searching for these terms, and if you're not showing up, what if you just spent a little money to be placed here when nobody else is? I can assure you that, and I've been to this conference a number of times, there's only a handful, if that, of your competitors at this conference that are running ads. And since you guys are spread out across the state, this is a huge opportunity because you can target these ads around any specific radius you want. You could, hey, I only want to show ads to people who are within 15 miles of my location. That's it. So you can put these qualifiers on. So that's a huge opportunity to get some additional traffic and exposure, and it doesn't cost a ton. A little bit more about social. I love this quote as well. It's not a choice that we're doing it. It's a question of how well we do it. And our big theme again is all we want to make sure is we're not posting and praying. So some simple rules for social. I hate rules, but we're going to say some rules anyway. So we got some rules. If we're going to talk about social, number one, know your customers and the competition. So in other words, where are the people that you do business with, your customers, where are they hanging out? If it's high concentrations of people on certain platforms, we should probably be there as a business. So again, thinking about it from the consumer's point of view. Also, what is our competition doing? Is our competition on Facebook? Probably. Are they on Insta? Probably. What are they doing on those platforms? How many of us are actually looking at our competitors to see what they're posting? What are they doing? Exactly, that's awesome, right? There is no magic number of sites. So please, let's get off the train if we're on one where it says we have to be on every single platform. You don't have to be on every single platform. I would rather have you do 1 or 2 platforms really well than be on 3 or 4 and do them poorly. Because if you're on 3 or 4 and you do them poorly, that will reflect worse on your business than only being on 1 or 2 and doing it really well. See the effect scale there? Because if you're not active on these sites, you'll immediately start to impact, and that's what we say in point number 3, quality over quantity. I'd rather have high quality posts, whether it be video, other content, than you posting every day or multiple times a day and it's all noise. So quality over quantity. How many of us are doing any type of listening on social? Do we know what that means? So there are tools out there. Some of them are free. Some of them are, you pay a little fee. But tools like Hootsuite would be one example. Hootsuite.
That'll post everything.
Yep. So Hootsuite is a tool, and there are others. There's another one called Social Report. That one's a little bit more expensive, but I think you get a little more. These are tools that we use for our customers. These are tools that allow you to either post on multiple platforms from a single source. So you just go to this tool, Hootsuite, and has all your social profiles connected to it, and you can direct content to all your channels so that you're not having to log into every channel. So that's one way to save time. But the other thing that the tools allow you to do is set up listening reports. So in other words, you can put in the name of your business or the name of any of your competitors, and the tool will tell you what's being said about you or your competitors.
Wow.
So every time somebody on social, on any of these platforms, mentions your business, you'll get a notification of that. So those tools can be really valuable. And that's what leads to the bottom two here, which is those tools that are the listening allows you to engage, right? But then also experiment. And the experimenting is key because we're never going to know what content resonates until we try different things. For some of you, it could be video. For some of you, it could be picture. I don't know, right? What is your audience? What's going to resonate with your audience? We have to experiment. All right. You know what? We talked a lot so far about Facebook. Facebook isn't going away. And in fact, they're probably going to become even more relevant in the coming years. Everybody knows that Facebook owns Instagram, right? We all know that. So here's the point on Facebook that I wanted to convey. If we're doing advertising on Facebook as a business page, you have the ability to share those posts on Instagram without having an Instagram account. Does everybody know that? If you don't know that, this is an important point. So because Facebook owns Instagram, when you set up a paid advertisement on Facebook, whether it's, yes, they bought, talk about the steal of the century. They bought it about 4 years ago for $1 billion. And now they think that the Instagram component of Facebook is worth several times more than that. So they got a steal at $1 billion. Right. So my point is, how might this benefit your business? Well, if it's a matter of time, if it's a matter of, okay, maybe I don't want to, do a full-blown Instagram account, but I still want to get exposure to the Instagram audience, I can, through my Facebook business page, through Ads Manager, I can run ads, and when I choose who to show them to, I can choose Facebook's Instagram audience. That's an actual choice when you set up the ad. So Facebook will show your content. They'll put a nice little post together and show it to the Instagram. And then what happens on Instagram, if somebody sees it, they come back to your page, your Facebook page.
How does an Instagram user find it? How does it come up in their feed if they're not following it?
Facebook will do what they always do, which is show it to people who they think want to see it.
Okay. So it's one of the ads that you see that comes up that you have no idea where it came from.
Correct.
And they just throw it at you.
Correct. So yes, that's what they will do. All right, so that's really, so again, on all these platforms, I just want to convey a few key points. So we already talked about the fact, Instagram, the connection. Instagram, especially with the millennials, even getting into Gen Z a little bit.
Gen Z is really
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very big.
Into what?
Instagram. Gen Z is very into Instagram.
Very, yeah, very.
We'll just say it's Katie's
I don't even know what
Just
it
weird
is.
saying.
Well, it's just like, I mean, I don't personally have an Instagram account.
Yep.
But I know almost everybody in my, at least my school has an
They're in
Abs-
TikTok.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So the key is there for business. So as a business, the key is we just have to make sure we're present so that we're not alienating these segments of the audience. That's the key, right?
So at Instagram, let's say as a business, because I'm gonna ask you, because your friends are involved in it.
Yeah.
I always worry about, like when you sign up for something, they're constantly popping, and you're like, oh my God, shut up. How many times is too many times to post on Instagram before you're like, I can't follow them anymore,
I
they're
can't
making me
follow
crazy? Do you know what you understand?
Yeah, I
what I'm
understand what you're
asking?
saying. Usually, I would say like maybe twice or 3 times.
A day.
Like, a day. Well,
I'm
then,
asking,
like,
I mean,
in a day.
Are you talking in an hour?
No, I'm not talking yeah, if you send them notifications every
2 to 3
3
times
times
a
an
day
hour,
is
that's
Two to three times
healthy.
like a day.
Make
I
sure
would
to
say.
tag your location.
Right,
for
well,
sure.
I'm just asking because it's like you don't want people to unfollow you because you're like,
Well, see, that's
You know
what
I mean?
that's what happened to
Like,
LinkedIn.
just keep
is it, I'm just.
That's what happened to LinkedIn,
I'm
right?
just like-
Everybody started posting all the time, and LinkedIn didn't have great quality control over how they were showing it initially. Now they do, but people just started abandoning the platform
Because it's just.
because all you were getting were requests to, either recommend somebody or connect with somebody, and it was pointless.
You don't
So,
wanna alienate 'em.
so
You
pay-
wanna
so-
make sure you keep 'em
More
engaged.
towards the 2 side notes.
so I love that as general advice. I love that, but the key is also pay attention to your audience because your audience will tell you as well. If you start to get people either, if you're doing full-blown Insta, if you start to get people, unfollow or not connect with you, I mean, that's going to start to show you that, hey, maybe we're posting a little too much. The other one we don't want to ignore, though, is Pinterest. Pinterest is one that we still see a little bit of success with. People are still pinning things, they're still pinning pictures, and people like to share things. So it's not one where, I wouldn't make this the core of your strategy, but people love to share photos and pin things. I see some smiles over here, so maybe.
I love Pinterest.
Right,
I do a lot of
right.
work, but not as a business.
It's
It's
like
not so
what
much
Pinterest
that I would,
is
it's more like recipes and ideas for vacations and, stuff like that. Not as much I would search for, where am I gonna go camping?
So notice what you just said here. I love this. What I search for on Pinterest. Do you know who the industry that has the most traction right now on Pinterest? And a few of our clients are in this industry. Any guesses? The home builders.
Yep.
Home builders. People love to share photos of. So again, ideas for decorate. So you don't have to do this, but I'm just throwing it out there. It could be an option. We've seen some success with it. This is a little bit about Facebook ads, and I know we've got maybe 10, 15, or about 10 minutes or so. If we're setting up a Facebook ad, similar methodology across the board for other channels, what I wanted to showcase here was just the idea that you can customize literally anything that you want within the ads tool. So you can customize who sees it, you can customize time of day that they see it, you can customize what happens to them once they see it. So do you want to have them go back to your website? Do you want them to stay on your business page? Do you want them to go to your messenger? What do you want them to do? So there's unlimited targeting, unlimited potential in terms of what you want these folks to do once you set up it. It would be through your login.
Okay.
You would see on the left-hand side if you're looking at your desktop. Otherwise, there's a separate app for if you're looking on your phone. There's an Ads Manager app.
Okay.
So it's a separate app if you're doing it on your phone, but I would always encourage you to do it on a desktop. To me, it's just easier to set it up. But it's just on the left-hand side. It'll just say Ads Manager.
Okay.
What does that do? It just tells you what ads you're putting on?
That'll allow you to manage all your ads. So all your ads for Facebook, all your ads for Instagram if you're using their network. All right, in the home stretch, you guys have been great. I know this is a lot of info.
Little Facebook business app too.
Exactly.
Don't use that.
So now we're talking a little bit about, okay, now this is one. If you want to talk about archaic, right? So how many people think that email is still relevant? Few of us, right? So here's what we would say. Here's what we would say. If social media is the cocktail party, then email is the meetup for coffee. And this is really, really important because it matters to your business in this sense. When people sign in at your business, you have a registration card, right?
Yeah.
Do you ask for their email?
Yep.
So everybody gets their email.
But nobody uses it.
Then the question is, what do you do with it?
We actually, when we go to the RV and not to interrupt, but
Oh, yeah,
we'll
go
go
ahead.
to the RV and camping shows.
Yep,
We have a slip for drawings.
Yep.
The only ones we keep are the ones with the emails.
you're right.
Because if they do not get picked for like the certificate for 2 free nights of camping, what we do is we send a mass email and we say, although you weren't chosen for our grand prize, you can use this email and present us to it for a free night of camping for Sunday through Thursday. So bringing them in.
I love that because there's a strategy behind it. Here's the thing, and this is where the generational thing again comes into play. Because if you're talking about typically 20-somethings or teens, email is not the most important or even necessarily on their radar. However, if you're talking about 30-somethings, 40-somethings, 50-somethings, email is still, believe it or not, the #1 form of digital
The ones
communication.
paying to come.
But that's an important point, and here's the point: we sell, and this might blow your mind, in a couple of our markets around the country, we sell more $50,000 trucks via email than any other method. And what do I mean by that? We hit folks with a specific offer that's targeted to them. They click on it, they come in, they redeem a code, and they buy their vehicle. That sounds crazy. It's an email, right? But my point is, it can work if it's done properly and we're targeting the right audience. So what we're saying here is, you guys are already getting folks' email, right, when they sign in. So these are just different ideas as to how to get their information. You can ask for it through their site, through social sites. Facebook is connected to Constant Contact. There's a couple different providers. There's MailChimp, there's Constant Contact that do really good business email. You can connect through social, check in, check out, receipt, follow-up, survey. The size of your list does matter. Very important. Want to get as many folks as possible. Here are those providers again. We would encourage you, if you're going to do email marketing, to do it well. And the way you do it well is you use either Constant Contact or MailChimp. These are providers of business email marketing services. So what this allows you to do, and they're pretty cost effective. I mean, we're talking about 20 to 30, 40 bucks a month. I mean, we're not talking breaking the bank. They allow you to do custom content. They allow you to do photos, they allow you to do video, and it can all be done in a way that ensures high deliverable rates. That's why you don't use Gmail. That's why you don't use Outlook to send business emails, because they go into spam folders and all sorts of nasty stuff, right? So, content for emails. If people are asking you questions in person, or on the phone, or on social, that's probably a good thing that you should be talking about in your email, because there's a good chance other people have those same questions, right? So we're talking about general news updates here. Obviously, you can link to your blog post, but don't just keep it to your business. What's also going on in the news, right? What's going on in your market? What's going on in the industry? Tips and best practices. How to pick the best campground. I don't know. What to look for in a log cabin.
Are you talking for your email?
Email content.
I
Yep.
do things like insect repellent, safe insect
Yeah.
repellent, that gets a lot of openings.
Oh yeah.
What you should bring for
Tips
fall
and best
camping.
practices. Yeah. Absolutely. All those things. Photos, video, on-site happening, staff updates.
Recipes is another good one.
Recipes is good. The other thing people don't talk about in general enough, I don't think, in business, are other people. I want to know who you are. Who are the owners? Who am I going to meet when I come on site? Well, they all know you, right? That's good. And I would say that's a competitive advantage that you have, because people know you. But a lot of times in business, people don't know. They don't know. It's like a nameless, faceless thing. I show up and here I am, and who am I going to meet, right?
I'm not the owner though, so they get to see
When
me.
you say blog posts,
Yeah.
do you have a link in the email that takes you back to that site where the blog is hosted, or do you just copy and paste that blog information on the email
Whatever possible, we want to drive people to our website.
website?
Whatever possible, because this then becomes another data point. So in other words, we can see on our Google Analytics that people came to our site through Constant Contact.
Okay.
And now all of a sudden we know,
Now, to Constant Contact, when you're setting up your email, on the left-hand side of it, it's gonna have a place for links. So like with us, and I'm not sure, because your business more different, but I have over there like, check out this year's events, check out photos from whatever. And there's all kinds of places they can click that is gonna take them back to my website,
site.
but it's not even in the main body of
Mhm,
the email.
absolutely.
And you post your pictures of whatever.
Would those
Absolutely.
be considered backlinks? Like, when you post an email?
Technically, a backlink would only be from another site.
Okay.
So it would be a link, but not the one that we really want. It's good though. Here are other reasons we can send emails. So again, we don't want to spam people. We don't want to send out a ton of emails, but it's important periodically to stay connected to people, because we're asking them for their email. And a lot of people, especially the older folks, they like to connect via this means. It's a preferred method of communication. And again, it gives us data. We're able to see who clicked, what they clicked on. And I think that's what we're talking about on this next slide. This is one of our themes when it comes to email. Done is the new perfect. What we mean by that is a lot of times businesses get into paralysis because, oh my gosh, what is the content that I should put on? How many links should I have? What image should I use? And then all of a sudden 3 weeks goes by and nothing gets sent, right? We'd rather have you just do something because it's going to be better than waiting for 3 weeks and doing nothing, right? So what we would encourage you to do is obviously set up the email, test it, schedule it, measure it, because again, just like on social, just like on your website, all of these email providers have analytics built in. So when you send out your email, you can see who opened it, what did they click on, all right? So here's a real simple example. We have a list of 500 people, we send out an email, we see that 30% of them opened it, and we see of those 30% that opened, 50% clicked on a specific link. What do we do with that information? We probably send those 50% a follow-up, right? And the follow-up has a tweaked message that's going to a tweaked page that speaks to what we know they've just literally expressed interest in. Correct.
So that's where we go to the, I don't mean to sound cheap, but
Right.
right now with that being,
Right.
being startup and everything.
Yep.
Is it, so we should go through MailChimp to
I
get,
would,
like,
well,
a different
MailChimp,
email
MailChimp is
address?
free. I believe MailChimp has a lot of free components to it. You do have to pay a little bit at a certain level. MailChimp is going to be a little bit more cost effective than Constant Contact.
Okay,
Both are good. Both are good. But the reason that you want to use a provider like this, there's a lot of them, but the reason you want to use a provider, number one, it allows you to do all sorts of things that you can't do with like Gmail or Outlook, meaning you can you can design it properly so that it looks good. That'll increase the chance that people actually open it and look at it. So there's a lot of design elements that you don't get through those other providers. But the other thing is, if you ask Google, or if you ask Microsoft, because we're also partners with Microsoft, and you say, hey guys, should we use your service to send out business emails to a large audience? They will tell you no.
okay,
And the reason they'll tell you no is because those emails, more times than not, if they're sent to a large group, will wind up in spam and junk folders. Whereas a group like Constant Contact or MailChimp, they're set up in such a way that they don't go to spam or junk. They go right to the inbox.
Okay.
So again, because they're known business email providers, so there's a lot of advantages to using them versus doing it, the other way.
so you can just go on your computer, type in MailChimp and it'll.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's pretty. I know, cost is cost, but it's pretty cost effective. I mean, I think MailChimp is like $15 a month or something like that. So my point is, for what you can do with it in terms of the data and the contacts, I think it's worth it. All right. So just in summary, guys, I know we're kind of up on time. I love this quote. We're actually going to go back here. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. We'll cover this in a couple minutes. We go to these seminars all over the place. We conduct these seminars. Everybody gets really excited, and then they leave, and what happens?
They don't do
A lot of times, nothing. So let's commit to at least doing a couple actions, and then people always ask us, what should we do? So I'm going to cover these really quickly. The first thing I would encourage you guys to do is think. This is really important. So think about what we're trying to accomplish. Don't just go out and do a bunch of stuff. This is really, really important. The second is assess. So assess what's going on right now. So how good is your website? What are we doing on Facebook? What are we doing on social? Are we doing any email? All these things, right? We want to assess. The third thing is we want to prioritize, and we want to be ruthless with our prioritization. Meaning we're not going to be able to do all this stuff. So or maybe we are, but it's going to take some time. What's the most important thing that we need to do? What are the 2 or 3 things right now we can do that's going to move the needle, right? I would argue for most businesses, it's their website and maybe some stuff on the Google Ads front. Then we're going to strategize. We're going to figure out exactly how we're going to accomplish it, right? Then, as a next step, this is probably the most important one. We're going to identify work roles. Who the heck is doing this stuff? Is it the owner? Is it the sales manager? Is it the marketing person? Is it somebody that we're bringing in to work with us? Who's going to do this stuff? Because once you assign work roles, what comes with that?
Responsibility.
Accountability, right? Hey, has to get done, right? Then we're going to execute. And this is a really big one. I cannot tell you how many times we start working with companies and we have all the things that I just said. We do all those things. And then all of a sudden 3 weeks go by, hey, did you guys send out that email? No, oh no, we didn't get to that yet, meaning at the company. That's a huge problem. So we had to commit to executing. And then we talked about this at length, measuring the results. And then this is a big one as well, adjusting as needed. None of this stuff, guys, is set in stone. If you start running Google Ads and after 2 weeks you find that it's not working, we can adjust it. It can be adjusted. If you're on Instagram and you're not getting success, we can adjust it. All of this stuff we're talking about is 100% adjustable. And I love this quote, right? So the pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects it to change, the realist adjusts the sails. So let's adjust the sails, let's take accountability, let's do what we need to do. So with that, I know we're over time, but I'm happy to stick around for a little bit if you guys have questions. Otherwise, I really appreciate your time.